All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Jeanette Rebar with St. Paul Public Works. Really appreciate your time here today. If you are just joining us, welcome. If you can mute yourself, it looks like everyone has, so thank you for that. Couple quick reminders as we get started. We are recording, so just a note about that. We'll probably be admitting people throughout the meeting, but throughout, Barb's going to do a short presentation. We will take questions during it. You can put them in the chat. You can also raise your hand with that feature. And I know some of you are on phones. Not sure if you're on the phone for audio and on a computer, but if you are just audio only, we do have a couple PowerPoint slides we'll be sharing, but we will post those on the web page. And also a lot of this information is already there. So I'm going to turn it over to Barb. She'll kick us off and do, as I said, a short presentation, and then we'll take some questions. We got a couple of us on here so we can monitor the chat and hand raises and all of that. So thanks again, and Barb, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Jeanette. So just a very brief overview of the project. This is Wheelock-Grotto Phase 1. We plan to start the beginning of June and go through October 31st, a couple of weeks into November, possibly, depending on weather. Again, my name is Barb Mundall. My contact information is here, and I know a lot of you already have my information. It's been great talking with all of you throughout the design process, and I'll still be there throughout the construction process as well. But I will be handing it over to an inspector that will be out there all day, every day. So a reminder of some of the improvements. It's a new curb and gutter, new bituminous pavement, a lot of utility upgrades, sidewalks, pedestrian ramps, street lighting, and tree planting are just some of the highlights of the project. We notified everyone very as early as we could in the process, and unfortunately we didn't have all of the design completed at that time. We have analyzed the slopes of the boulevards and all of the survey data, and we've made, as our letter said before, some new recommendations for the placement of sidewalks. We are still following the current existing sidewalk policy, but since we have looked at the grades and other challenges, we've made new recommendations for sidewalk on one side only on Parkview, Ivy, Orange, and East Como Boulevard. We still are recommending sidewalks on both sides on Osage because it's an 80-foot right-of-way. We have lots of room to go around trees, and I'll show a picture of Osage when we get to it, so we can see, the sidewalk placement. There's already sidewalk on the east side of Osage and on both sides of Avon and Folsom, and of course, we'll just replace those existing sidewalks to bring them up to ADA compliance and repair any damaged or tree heave panels. So jumping right into it, we looked at Parkview first. There's on the north side, there's some pretty steep boulevard slopes. And if we had put the sidewalk at the toe of those slopes, we would not have had, we would have reduced the amount of boulevard for future tree planting and snow storage. So we're recommending sidewalks on the south side only. We're able to save a few more trees, and there just isn't the grade challenges that there are on the north side. Similar, it's pretty much the same situation throughout all of these on the south, the south side of Ivy. There's some grade challenges. There's some encroachment challenges. and the north side already has sidewalk for, 2.5 of the 3 blocks. So it just made sense to put sidewalk on the north side. And I'm going to kind of go through these quickly, but feel free. We can always go back and answer questions. On Orange, same thing. There's some grade challenges and encroachment challenges. On the south side, on the north side, there's already some existing sidewalk, and it's just flatter. Let's see. East Como Boulevard. So there's multiple reasons why we are recommending sidewalks on the east side only. One is there's a tree line that would need to be ripped out entirely. There's also some steep slopes going down to the lake. To build we would need to build some pretty hefty retaining walls, hefty and expensive retaining walls on the west side in order to put sidewalk there. On the east side, south of Lakeview, there's already sidewalk on the east side. We're well within the city's right-of-way on the east side. So the recommendation is to put the sidewalk on the east side only. And then on Osage, I can't zoom in, but so on Osage, again, it's an 80-foot right-of-way. There's plenty of space for everything, snow storage, sidewalks, and even a buffer. The green, so on the east side, the existing sidewalk is about 5 feet away from the property line for most of the block. We're proposing to do the same on the west side, 5 feet away from the property line. Just give a buffer for the houses, plus we still have plenty of boulevard. There will be a few trees on Osage that come down, mostly because of the curb and tree health, and less to, very little to do with the sidewalk in general. We might swoop this sidewalk a little bit to save these trees back here, depending on the tree health. I'll be doing another forestry walk on, I think, Friday. So we can, just double check the trees that we will mark for removal. And then I know a lot of you got the sanitary service replacement letter, and I just wanted to put out a reminder that the deadline for returning those waiver forms is March 31st. Both I and the sewer department are willing to answer any questions you have. We can do that tonight, or a phone call tomorrow. So again, that's part of the utility upgrades that we're doing. A couple of other things that the project includes that a lot of people are not aware of is we are building 3 underground infiltration trenches to improve water quality. We've got 1 on Ivy and 2 on Orange. And these they capture the water from the catch basins, and instead of going directly into the storm sewer, they go through these trenches, get filtered, and then they overflow back into the system. So you're getting cleaner water going into the lake or the system. Let's see, what am I doing? Here we go. Another reminder that we are partnering with Cap Region Watershed District to offer Boulevard Rain Gardens. I think that's not the slide, sorry. Here we go. That's the slide I was looking for. So far, we've got about 30 people have signed up to have a Boulevard Rain Garden. Capital Region Watershed District, if you are interested, they will go out and check the feasibility of putting a garden at your location, and they're as excited as I am about offering this to the neighborhood. How it works is the city will construct the inflow and provide the soils and the mulch. The cap regions will supply the plants. And then it's up to the homeowner to maintain the plants. But cap regions is really good at, helping neighborhoods, get a rain garden established. So for more information on that, you can contact me or Chris Kuzak at Cap Region Watershed District. And then there's just
Barb, we
a
have
couple.
a couple before we
Oh,
move on. I just want to
yeah.
get back to some questions. I wanted you to finish
Okay.
rain gardens. A couple of questions. There's a question about when the forestry walk is on Osage.
So it's tentatively for Friday, but I need some confirmation from the forester. And I don't know. We're starting on Parkview and we're walking the whole neighborhood, so I can't give you an exact time of when we'll be there, but we will be walking the neighborhood either Friday or Monday, depending on. She gave me 2 times, and I said, "How about Friday?" So just waiting for a confirmation on that.
Great. And then in terms of the sewer work, there was a question. Oh, Dan or Elizabeth, did you have a follow-up on the forestry walk, or is it on something else? If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, I just wondered, how will we find out if it's Friday or Monday and what time? Is it possible to go along on the walk, or?
So it is.
Like a name by here, Barbara.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I think Dan or Elizabeth, if you want to mute yourself now that you asked the question, or if unless it's someone else.
So in the interest of efficiency, the forester is we're walking with a tree contractor as well. So it is, I'm happy to answer questions before that, but it is more to talk with the contractor and less to talk with the homeowners. We can do that separately, but I want to, respect the contractor's time.
So I think Dan and Elizabeth, if you want to just reach out, kind of if you have a question, I'm guessing it may be about a specific tree or trees. I think that would probably be easier, Barb, post meeting, so you'll have some more information. Or post the forestry walk.
Yeah, after we walk, but again, the idea is me and the forester and the contractor.
Great. All right. And then question sewers. I know you had sewer replacement. So question is, are the sewers going to be replaced before other work starts, or kind of what's that timeline for the sewer work?
No, the sewer work will be replaced during the project, during the other construction. I think there's some confusion because the lead water services will be replaced prior to the project, but the sewer services would be replaced during the project.
Great. And then going back to those infiltration trenches, where do you know exactly where on Ivy the infiltration trenches are being installed?
So on Ivy, they're between that first block, Como and Osage. And to be clear, that is what's on the permit application to the watershed district. They may come back with an alternate location, but right now this is what we're proposing.
Great, thank you. I think we've got all the current questions, so if you want to jump to, I know you just had a couple more slides.
Right. Oh, it looks like Nancy's got a question.
Nancy, go ahead. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes. Can we go back to the sewer question for just a minute?
Yes.
I talked to Richard
Ecobina.
Yeah, from the sewer department, and I think I'm a little confused because I got the impression that sewer lines as a total thing are not going to be replaced because he said the reconstruction project is only going to go down a certain number of feet and the sewer lines are down about 8 feet. And he said the street reconstruction project does not go down that far. So the only thing that's going to be done are the sewer connections, not total sewer line replacement. Or am I misunderstanding things?
So what will happen is the sewer waiver is requesting the city to replace your sewer service from the sewer main. Showing here, I don't know if you can see my screen or not, but
Yes.
okay. So the sanitary sewer main is actually about 15 feet deep, and then your sewer service goes to the house, and somewhere around here is the property line. So the waiver is requesting the project to replace the portion of your sewer service that is in the public right of way. So like here where they show these tree roots and stuff, it would be the connection and also that portion of pipe that's in the city right of way.
So
Now
the
go
line
ahead.
that goes from somebody's house out to the street is not down at the 15-foot level?
That can be, that is usually like down 8 feet or so at the bottom,
Okay.
right below your basement, and then it drops down,
Oh, that's
as
where
you
I was
can
confused.
see where it
Okay.
kind of curves and drops down.
Yep, that's where I was
Yeah,
confused. Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
and it's the picture is worth 1,000 words, isn't it?
Yes,
So yeah, so the waiver form is requesting the city to replace that, and if we don't get a signed waiver form, then we would not replace it.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oh, and then a question. So how long will homes be without water or sewer use when they're doing the sewer replacement?
So the sewer replacement, you don't have to worry about that at all. They'll replace that pipe within hours, and usually it's during the day when, there'll be less usage probably. Now with remote work, there might be a little bit more, but they might knock on your door and say, can you not flush the toilet for the next 2 hours? But otherwise it does not really impact homeowners. The water service is a different story. That's also a brief thing. They'll need to like the St. Paul Regional Water will need to come into your home, and you might be without water for a couple of hours as well. But it would all be same day. It's not like weeks or months or anything.
Great. I think, Barb, we can let you do your final slides.
Okay, and we're almost done here. Just a reminder, I've gotten a couple of questions about the proposed bike boulevard on Como and East Como Boulevard, and I just wanted to reiterate that it's really pavement markings. We're not putting in a trail. We're not. It's just a kind of a reminder to share the road. Not we're not changing curb lines or anything like that. And then my last slide is simply to kind of recap all of the, we sent out the first letters back in June of 2024, and then there was the virtual presentation and then the open house, and then in-person open house, and then the sewer waivers came February 4th. We sent the sidewalk update letter. Today here is this virtual open house, and there were some people that were confused between this meeting and the public hearing. So that public hearing coming up on the 23rd, that is the one in front of City Council, and that is in person at the council chambers downtown at City Hall. Just to give a heads up on that. We plan to open bids for paving contractors after the public hearing. That gives us a brief amount of time to make any changes that might come up at the public hearing. And then before construction starts, you'll get a letter from me And I don't have an exact date for that yet, but it will tell you who the contractor is, who our inspector is, some important phone numbers, and contact information, and emergency contact. So that's a letter that will have a lot of construction related information that it's good to hang on to, even if it's something like the contractor left a piece of equipment parked in front of your house over the weekend or something, or in front of your driveway, you'll want to call them or call me to get it, get that moved so you're not sitting trapped all weekend. So anyway, that letter will come out before we start construction. I should have added here that St. Paul Regional Water will probably start their work sometime in mid to late May before that construction letter comes out, and they'll send a letter as well, letting you know that they're starting. And then we would like to start the project as soon as weather allows, or in June. Right now we're looking at June 2nd. And then, there'll be much more communication as the project continues. And I just want to say thank you. Oh, go ahead.
No, go. We got some questions.
That was just it. I was like, I just wanted to say thank you for all of the participation on this project. It's been really great to see such an engaged neighborhood. And that's it. And let's go with more questions.
Great. And then just a final reminder on communications. A lot of these letters all get posted on the webpage. So if you misplace it, that's there. And then also check your front door if you don't usually use it. Sometimes flyers get left about that. Question about back to kind of water and water pressure. Will there be reduced water and water pressure for the duration of the project? Is it just a couple hours and it's like normal? And I think just a comment, let's maybe explain the temporary water service if there's going to be that.
So there will be temporary water service while they replace the water mains. That is in a smaller pipe. So smaller pipe means maybe less capacity, but more pressure. And then when they replace the mains, they're bigger mains, so there's more capacity but less pressure. Or you will probably experience the same amount of pressure, but you'll have more water. How can I say? So like in St. Paul, I grew up in St. Paul, you couldn't take a shower and wash clothes at the same time, right? Because there was not enough water. But with the new water main, there'll be more capacity, so you can maybe do two things at once. Does that answer the question?
I think so. And then I know we have Nancy, you have your hand raised if you want to unmute.
Yes, thank you. What is the strategy or approach for doing the construction? Like which streets will you start with, and then where will you navigate to? What is that approach?
So we give the contractor a lot of flexibility to sequence the project how they find to be the most efficient. With that being said, the water department will come in first, and so it is likely that the contractor will follow where St. Paul Regional Water has been, so that they're not stepping on each other's toes. I do not have that sequence as yet, but and we probably won't know. That will be included as a tentative sequence in that construction letter that will happen prior to construction start.
And just a reminder, once the project's under construction, we will send out weekly emails. So if you go to the project website and sign up, and we will include kind of work that's coming, that'll include like work that was just done. So you'll have a sense of that sequencing because even as we give it to you at the front end, it's likely to change due to weather or other things that arise during construction. So that's a good way to stay up to date on what's happening as well. And then I think, so I have a question that's, oh, Steve, did you have a comment before I jump into a question?
Go ahead and ask the question, but I was going to volunteer
Okay.
answer that last question.
Great. So I heard, I'm just going to read it. I heard that Public Works and Council Member Kim were talking about revisions to the sidewalk infill policy. Did I hear correctly? And if so, can you speak to potential changes?
So we can't speak to the potential changes because we have to go through the conversation with council. But it is true that there is a new tree ordinance that has been brought up that has been postponed for a 5 to 6 month period to review how it works with other ordinances or policies like this sidewalk infill policy. So there will be a discussion period of a few months here, and the sidewalk infill policy will be looked at and how it works with the new tree ordinance. So more to come on that process and what the final outcome is.
Great. I'm not seeing any additional questions in the chat. I know someone was asking about if they could ask property specific questions. You're welcome to do them here if you feel, inclined. Otherwise, definitely reach out to Barb. I did put her email and phone number in the chat. So whichever you feel most comfortable with. I know Barb's been talking with a number of residents one-on-one, so happy to continue to do that. But also happy to take questions, either raised hand or if someone wants to unmute themselves or put it in the chat. Nancy, go right ahead. Oh, Nancy, if you want to unmute yourself.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, thanks. I am wondering about that age-old question of assessments.
Yeah.
So do you have any updates on that? And will that be part of the city council meeting in April, even with some tentative numbers, or what's the status?
Yeah, so you should be getting a notification if you haven't already about that public hearing on the 23rd. And included in that notification should be a pending assessment for your property.
I think if Steve or Lisa jump in, but I believe those might be going out next week or the following. Okay. So it'll be coming before, and that'll give you the estimated assessment rate, that information, and then also give you the information on that public hearing.
Correct. It has not been mailed yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And just if you go to stpaul.gov assessments, you can, once they post those numbers as a pending assessment, you can also look that information up there. But if the letters haven't gone out yet, they probably haven't posted it to the website either. But that's an alternative if you misplace the letter or something happens to it. You can always look it up at stpaul.gov/assessments.
So you'll see those soon. And then a question from the chat, and then I'll jump to someone else with a hand raise, is can you describe property access during the project, Barb?
Yeah, so we will, as we dig deep holes to replace water and sewer mains, we will backfill at the end of the day. So you should have access to your property most of the time. You won't be driving on asphalt, it may be gravel. There will be some opportunities to not park in your driveway, and that is when we pour the concrete apron. We need a minimum of 28 hours to, I'm sorry, a minimum of, why is this escaping me? Full strength in 28 days I believe it's 3 days that you can't drive on your driveway. But anyway, so you'll have access to your street. They request that you don't park while they're actively park on your street when they're actively working. So that would be like from 7 a.m. to about 7 p.m. If they're not working on your street, you can go ahead and park there. And then once they start actively working on your street, you'll have to find alternate parking during the day, but you can still park in front of your house at night. That answer that question? I'm sorry, I slipped a little.
No, that's all right. Lots of things to keep in mind. But there'll be a lot of communication for all of you, like before your driveway is going to be done. So you'll know in advance that coordination so you can move vehicles out. Definitely reach out if you have questions about an access. There'll be an inspector, as Barb said, on site. Basically all the time there's project work happening. So someone to reach out to too. And then Dan and or Elizabeth, I thought I saw a hand raised. Yes, okay. Go right ahead.
Well, I've now got a second question, but my original question was 2 years ago, we lost an old city planted boulevard tree because of a snowstorm. And a year ago, we went through the process of going through with the city forestry department and getting a permit and replanting an approved tree there because they said they weren't going to get around to planting trees until sometime in 25 or 26. We planted it right where the old one was. Do we think we're going to lose that tree, or is there any way of knowing it?
So Dan, if I remember correctly, are you on Orange where the infiltration trench is going to go?
I'm on Osage.
You're on Osage. Okay.
Away from Ivy.
So they wouldn't plant it exactly in the same spot that the old one was.
No,
the idea.
We already did plant it a year ago.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, we did. We bought the permit from the city because they weren't going to do it, and we wanted to get a tree in, and we got a permit and planted a tree there.
Okay. I would have to. How about if you want to like put in the chat if you're comfortable with that, or send me an email with your address. I'm sorry, I'm getting. I thought I know I've talked to you. I just don't remember exactly what your address was, and so I can look it up.
The last house on Osage, and possibly not having access to our house for 3 days is to our driveway or parking. That's a major concern to me because we don't work 8 to 5. We're not gone during the day. We work and go to and from our house more in the late afternoons and in the evening and at night. And carrying equipment that we have to keep in our garage. And I don't know if we can't park on Osage, that doesn't sound like we'll be able to. That's me probably having to cancel work that I have for those, if I have work scheduled on those days. I don't.
So so usually if they're like, say they're working on Osage, then they wouldn't be working on Ivy, and then they would get Ivy, like they would get Osage done and then rip up Ivy. So say if you're on the corner, you would be able to, use one or the other. And that doesn't help you with your garage access. But again, the garage access is only a couple of days. And
be able to get my gear, all the gear that I need to go to work out of my garage to my car, especially if there's no sidewalk or street access.
So we're happy to work with you and as far as when we pour your driveway to like work with, like give you lots of notice for one, And then if they are able to, they could, you know, maybe like if say if you need your gear Thursday through Sunday, but we pour your driveway on a Monday, you know, is there something like that that would work? And when the, go ahead.
I mean, it's the nature of my work, that would be helpful. The nature of my work is I contact things months ahead of time. And if I find out 10 days ahead of time that I'm not going to have access to getting in and out of my gear, in and out of my vehicle, and I do not feel comfortable leaving it in the vehicle parked on the street overnight. I'm sorry, I know it's a nice part of town, but that's a risk I really don't want to take. Then, you know, then I'm risking having to cancel work that I promised somebody 6 months ahead of time that I would do. I would appreciate knowing as soon as possible what days they think they're going to be doing this work on our street, I guess. That's the only way I can deal with it. And I don't know if as soon as possible means you can let me know by next week, or you can only let me know a week ahead of time.
So I think this, we should you know, have this conversation as it gets closer to construction, and once we have a contractor and then we can include the inspector, so that, you know, we can try and accommodate you as best we can. So more to come, I guess is what I'm saying. We, you know, if we can, I want to make sure we can get to other people's questions, and
Yeah.
I can't give you a good answer tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, I know you have your hand raised, so I'll turn it over to you if you want to unmute yourself.
And I'm not even sure how that happened. I just moved my computer. I must have bumped another button.
No worry, Kevin. Just want to make sure we catch all the questions, so don't want to leave you out. All right, I'm not seeing any more in the chat. And again, I just dropped in Barb's contact information. If you have questions you feel more comfortable reaching out to her directly about, you know, outside of this, or just some follow-up from some of these more detail. Again, we know construction has a lot of impacts and is inconvenient, and we do want to work with you to make it as the least inconvenient as possible, even as it's complicated. All right, any other questions? Just looking, feel free and unmute yourself if that's easier. Judy, did you have a question?
Yes, I would like to be able to see, I didn't have the video on before, on where the infiltration trench is on Ivy.
Oh, hi, Judy. It is the first block between Como and Osage.
Oh, so it's clear down by the lake. Okay.
Yeah. And it's, you know, they'll be underground, so you won't see them from the surface.
Okay.
It's just, I just wanted to mention it because it's something we're doing to improve water quality, and a lot of public works work is felt but not seen. And so that's why I wanted to just, you know, call attention to it.
If I can, when you talk about pouring the concrete driveway aprons, is that a time that the homeowner can have their driveway resurfaced?
So it depends on the contractor. Some contractors are willing to take on that extra work, and you know, it would be a private arrangement between you and the contractor. And then some contractors want to just focus on the job that they're, you know, that they were hired to do and don't want to do private work. So it really depends on their crews. But I can give you the information once we have it, and you can call them.
That'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. right.
Other questions? Feel free and unmute yourself, raise your hand, or put anything in the chat. I'm not seeing anything.
Hi, I have one. I live on East Como, but closer to Victoria. This is Janet Pope. Hi, all. We can't figure out how to get our camera working on this laptop. But anyway, we'll talk to Kevin. Anyway, what people have been out surveying on our folks from the city have been out surveying on our stretch. Rich, maybe you know this, between Victoria and Ivy on East Como. What is the, do you guys know future plans for that stretch?
So we will be doing for phase 2, we'll be doing the southern section of East Como Boulevard and Lakeview, and some streets on the other side of Grotto as well for phase 2. But also we're getting some additional soil borings, and so it could be they could be out there, marking locations for those additional soil borings. And we can, just get more information for those sewer mains that are going to be replaced.
Okay. Do you know what year?
What? Oh, for phase 2? Phase 2 will be in 2026.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
just so folks know, the phase 1 and phase 2, those email lists are the same. They do have separate web pages, but just because we know you're likely driving through parts of both sections. So just a heads up that if you're signed up for emails, you'll see stuff about this year and next year in that phase 2. So thank you. Question in the chat. So this person's on, Annie's on Parkview. Are there going to be a net loss or gain of trees?
So there will be some tree loss, but then we will also be planting new trees. So I would don't know. I think there's some opportunities to plant more trees on the north side and then replant trees on the south side. So I'm going to not venture to say that there's a net gain, but there will not be a net loss. And there may be a net gain. That's a question I'll have for the forester when I talk with her.
Great. All right, I know we still got some folks on. Feel free and unmute yourself if that's the easiest. Otherwise, raise your hand or put questions in the chat. We'll stick around here. I know we said definitely till 7. Happy to take more questions if there are any. Again, you can also reach out directly to Barb if there's some more specifics or some more logistics for your property. And know that we will be posting this recording as well. It'll probably take us a couple days. We'll send an email when that happens. Yep, the slide deck will get posted online as well. Nancy will do a PowerPoint of it. And I know, Barb, some questions about 1277 Avon Street North from Jesse. Feel free and reach out, Jesse. I know there's some concern about kind of removal of old trees. And we know that's always a concern, and we're always trying to balance that as well with our forestry staff. So I'm not seeing anyone. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I finally have a question after hitting the raise your hand button. And this is for Barb. Potential, on Friday or sometime, could you and I walk around my property? I've got just some specific boulevard and fence type questions that it would be good for me to understand better and be, better prepared. So, construction goes smoother.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. I know we've talked on the phone a couple of times, but kind of missed each other in person, I think.
Yeah, I can certainly be here anytime Friday that you'd like, or, you know, I can be pretty flexible with the schedule the next week or
Okay.
two.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
yeah, low key, just I want to just kind of chow over a couple of things and we'll see where it goes.
Sounds good. All right.
I'll
It looks
I'll
like,
let you set the time and place then, or the
okay,
timing.
yeah, I'll contact you.
Perfect.
And then
Thank you.
thanks, Kevin and Judy. It looks like you maybe have had a
hand up?
question.
Oh, this is Judy's neighbor across the
Oh.
alley from her.
Okay.
I had a question relating to actually some of the concrete work that looks like it's being planned to be done at the end of the alley between Wheelock and Ivy on Ivy Street. At the Ivy Street end, it looks like the alley is planning to be widened by just making it easier for large vehicles such as recycling and trash trucks to come in and exit from that end of Ivy. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, because I can't get a really good close look at the proposed plan. But I was wondering, and we've talked before about this, I have some trees and a boulder at that particular end of the Ivy on the south side of Ivy Street, and was wondering if there is a plan to widen the alley on both sides of the alley. It will still, I'm wondering if it will still cut in to the same amount of space as the first plan before it was redesigned was going to, and if I should be out there moving my edgers around and eliminating those and taking a fence pole down for the removal of at least one or two trees or not.
So this is Sheila, right?
Yes.
Hi. So as far as the alley driveway, we do have it shown at 20 feet, which is as wide as the alley right of way, and it's pretty much the same as when I came out to your property, as far
Oh,
as
so it's not going to be flaring out at this end for turning or anything like it
no,
does
it's
other end.
nothing has changed since that day that we met out there and talked. As far as, you know, you've got the arborvitaes, and there might be 2 of them that need to come out, and some of the edging. I don't think you're going to need to move your fence posts, though.
Really?
Well, I don't.
No, I have a pole. If you remember, there are
Oh, that
garden
okay.
poles. Yes.
Okay, that.
So
Oh, okay. I thought you
depending
meant
on
like your chain link.
if there's a possibility of taking at least one tree and possibly two,
Mhm.
I was just wondering how soon should I get the other stuff out of the way?
Um, you know, like you've got some time. I mean, there's going to be a lot of nice weather before June. And
Well, it's supposed to snow on Thursday.
well, I didn't mean this week. I meant,
No, I
you
know.
know, like we've got the whole month of April and May, right? Um, so yeah, and honestly, I won't know until we have a contractor on board where they're going to start. So I would say you've got, you know, a good 3 months before, you know, to move those edgers, and then we can take the trees out unless you want to do that, but we would just
Well,
hold on.
no, it's just I want to remove my personal stuff out of there so I
Yep.
can maybe use it elsewhere
Yep.
in the future. And Well, we talked about, well, I don't know if they would be able to move the boulder over a few feet.
Yeah,
to
and
the
that's
inside or not.
that kind of depends
But
on the
but the
contractor too.
personal, yeah, I put edgers in. Also, if you remember where they're going to be putting curb in, we have a gravel portion of the driveway that probably will have a curb on it now, right? The
It'll,
curb will go.
yeah, it's
There are some edgers in there that we placed ourselves at the end of our driveway to create where a curb would be if there had been one.
yeah, and now you'll get a
so,
real curb.
right.
Sorry.
But we put them at the end of the driveway and they don't stick up. We just marked that area as curb area because there was no real curb there. So that, you know, trash carts and stuff like that could be placed at the curb where if you had a curb, they would be up on the curb at the end of the driveway.
Okay.
So those will be coming out, I imagine,
Oh,
because of construction of the street.
yes.
Those will be torn out. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And going the opposite way, we have some brick edgers. We poured some gravel at the other part on the other side of the driveway to be able to use that driveway to set things on or sometimes park an extra car to get it off the street in the winter, etc., or anytime you need to be off the street. And what all of that will just be dug up, right? Unless I take those
Yes.
edges out, separating the two, the concrete from the gravel.
So,
yeah.
and I think, Barb, and this is probably a good reminder to everyone, you know, as we're anything in that public right-of-way space, as we're redoing curb, I know folks have stones out there where, because there hasn't been a curb and gutter, or you've done things at the edge of your driveway, those, you're welcome to remove those. You know, construction's not going to start until beginning of June at the earliest, and we'll give you notification in advance of that timeline. So if you remove, you know, plantings, items, stones, anything that you want from that public right-of-way that you've put there, otherwise it will get removed as part of the project and not replaced, I think is maybe just the reminder to everyone. So if there's any of that, you don't need to remove it if you're like, I don't want to keep it, it will get removed with the project. So you don't need to worry about it unless you do want to keep it.
We could rake away the gravel and use it elsewhere. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. You are welcome to remove anything you've placed in that public right-of-way before the project starts, but no, once they're under construction, you know, if we're coming, those timelines could get a little closer, but you do have until beginning of June. So definitely some nice days ahead.
Well, time is ticking fast at our house, so.
Yes.
There's a lot of reasons that things don't happen always on the day you want them to. Anyway, the recommendation, not, you know, this still has to have one more round hearing and so on. I realize that, but the recommendation has been to put the sidewalk on the north side. Is that's
Yep.
And
that's
so
correct.
Okay, we can hope then that things are approved the way that apparently, I mean, the recommendations would indicate it's the best way to do it. You know, some people, it might not be working out that way, depending on their elevation and location and a lot of other things, but I hope that I hope things go well in all directions.
Thank you. And I know we've got some more questions. Frank, did you have a question? I see you're unmuted.
Yes, I joined a little late because I had another Zoom meeting for the Ramsey County Master Gardeners. I have a budget question. On the letter, it says the project cost is estimated to be 10 million.
Yes.
And then that no single property would have to pay more than 25% of the overall cost. Well, that's a little scary. 25% of 10 million is more than my house is worth.
So that you will not be paying 25% of 10 million. No, I think that could be worded a little differently.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was just
yeah,
it was scary the way it was worded.
So you should next week they'll be sending out the assessment letters, and there'll be a pending assessment on that letter, and there is a whole special benefit analysis that the real estate division does, and basically it's the project, all the residents as a whole would not pay more than 25%. So that doesn't mean you personally, Frank, that means everybody. So all the assessments put together will be less than 25% of 10 million.
Okay. Well, that makes
sense?
Yeah, thank you.
You got it.
Well, with one more question on because I have a corner lot, does that mean that I'll be assessed more because I have, you know, a long strip along Osage and a shorter strip along Orange? And
so you will be assessed for the short side of your property.
Okay.
And I just put the special assessments website into the chat too. That does have some additional information about a special assessment. And that'll be in the letter, I believe, as well.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks.
Great. I know we're just past 7. I know a number of people have dropped off. I think I know it took a little bit longer on a couple of questions, so hopefully you got those answered. I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. I'll just kind of do a final call for questions. If people are looking, you can unmute yourself, kind of keeping track of that, or raise your hand.
I would honestly like a response to my statement. You guys the city does not maintain the sidewalks it has. Why are we building more? Why are we destroying my neighborhood for that? I think it's a fair question and it deserves to be answered.
Sorry, Eric, I was just looking for the question too that you had written in the chat.
It wasn't a question, it was a statement.
I mean, Steve, I don't know if you want to jump in on sidewalk policy. You know, that we are as a city following sidewalk policy, but Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, in our street engineering and construction division, we have a sidewalk group that does citywide maintenance on sidewalks. So the sidewalks are maintained throughout the city at the level they are budgeted. And as far as adding the sidewalks that are here, that is in accordance with the 2017 sidewalk policy that council gave us guidance to follow, and that's going to be reviewed to be and checked and verified, and with the new tree ordinance that is coming up and has been read once, but now is postponed for 5 to 6 months, and the city staff and council will be revisiting tree policy and that 2017 or tree ordinance and that 2017 sidewalk policy to make sure everything is concurrent and works together. But that is the current guidance that the city uses for sidewalk policy until it gets revisited.
You just threw a lot of words at me that didn't answer my question. The sidewalks we have right now, as I stated, like walking down Victoria, You can't walk down Victoria without tripping because the sidewalks are so poorly maintained. So why are we adding more? And why are we cutting down old growth trees? I don't want new trees. I want the old growth trees that have been there for 100 years.
Really, what you're questioning our policy.
Well, it's a crap policy. It's common sense.
Or policy statements that are citywide, and that's something you can bring up with council.
I think it has been brought up, and I don't think it's
a
been
larger discussion
responded to.
Project, to be straightforward. That's a larger discussion in this project, and that's something we can talk further outside of this if you'd like.
Jeanette, you're muted.
Thank you. Final questions. I know it's just after 7. I want to respect everyone's time. As I said, we will put the PowerPoint slides will go up on the website. A recording will go up on the website. I know I've put in the chat. You can definitely reach out to Barb with follow-up. I know there's a couple pieces people have asked for that follow-up too, so I think there'll be some connections there. Any other, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat. I know some folks have already dropped off. Appreciate everyone's time today. Again, I know there's been a lot of engagement on this project throughout the process. So more to come, and you'll see more details on construction. You'll see an assessment letter next, and then as we get some of those construction schedules and the contractor on board, more of those contact information and timeline that folks had some questions about.
Right. And for those of you, I see a few in the chat. Yes, we'll make some time to talk about your project or your property specifically. So thanks again, everyone. You know, I'm always here for a phone call or email or a site meet. So look forward to working with you all over the construction season, and more to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.